Hey New York, did you learn nothing from our Sharknado? We are, of course, talking about Sharknado 2, the second one. Joining me today to discuss the sci-fi hit is television critic Robert Lloyd. Robert, we were just talking, you think that this is a real Emmy contender?
Well, in the sense that anything that's put on television is an Emmy contender, this is an Emmy contender.
Yes. Okay, but for real, let's really get into it with this. Sharknado 2 averaged 3.9 million viewers last night. How does that really compare to other sci-fi hits or other television movies?
I'm not an expert in those figures in a vague way, though I can tell you that that's more people than would watch 30 Rock on an average week probably.
Wow.
It's those are good. Sci-fi would be happy with those numbers. 3 million people is not bad for a cheesy shark movie on a Wednesday night.
Cheesy? What do you mean?
No, I misspoke. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, along with the 3.9 million viewers who watched it last night, there were 250,000 mentions of hashtag Sharknado2, the second one, within the last day. So really, this movie has been built off the back of social media. How do you think that that is changing the game for a lot of these campy movies?
Well, I mean, the first time the social media aspect was a real social media aspect to me, it was a fluke.
Yeah.
It was the kind of thing where the world takes something up and it goes viral in the sense that it's not a promoted item. It's just somebody can't believe that this thing is happening, and they go, "Oh, OMG, Sharknado," and other people see it, and the word Sharknado is so in itself so stupid that
or genius.
Or genius.
Yes.
There's a fine line, as the wise man said, between stupid and clever, and this is right on it. So it's the kind of thing that I think there was just a kind of mass enjoyment in something that nobody really could have expected. Or, I mean, these sci-fi films, it's in a, sci-fi makes all these movies that are kind of like old-fashioned, cheap, the cheaper horror movies and sci-fi movies of the 60s and early 70s, when all sci-fi movies were cheap.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of these things in the spirit, and so this just caught that element of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Because there couldn't be a tornado full of sharks, really. Not live sharks, anyway. And so the second time around, though, it's an engineered event with product placement and lots of cameos. And I was in a Subway. I admit I was in a Subway sandwich shop. I needed something to eat quickly.
No one will judge you.
But there's product placement in the thing, and they're saying, watch Jared, or whatever his name is, the Subway sandwich guy in Sharknado.
Yeah.
So, and here we see that Syfy
this is crazy. There is so much
sent
stuff.
out to and I'm sure this is available to you at SciFi.com, people, but they sent out these things to critics with the DVDs, New York City 5-day forecast Sharknado, and
I mean, this is a real book. How to survive a Sharknado.
Right. So
this is real. This is actually filled with tips on how you can survive it.
And it has an ISBN number on the back, so in fact, it is a real book.
Yeah.
It's in the Library of Congress and available probably through
I think future generations are going to be really proud of us for this, so that's definitely good too. So let's read a couple of these tweets and talk about it, because last night someone actually tweeted LA Times Entertainment saying there are only two things that can bring this many Americans to the television: the moon landing and Sharknado.
Or an assassination.
And Calvin McLeod tweeted, if someone were to ask me what my life was like right now, I would suggest they watch Sharknado and Sharknado 2, the second one, back to back. Another woman said...
Sorry for that person.
I know. Another woman said, I'm in a hotel and they have no access to Sharknado 2, the second one, and that is a huge problem. Not even kidding. So the people are really excited about this, but in a way it does really bring people back to the television because, of course, with everything like Netflix and streaming and, people are binge watching. It's real, appointment television. So that's something that's
appointment television.
Yeah.
Yes, the new definition of appointment television. Yes, although the first time around, I think probably a lot of people saw it, on second screen sort of things because, again, it was like you would have heard about it afterwards. Not everybody in that small window that was available to them between the time they heard about Sharknado and figured out that they had Syfy on their cable or satellite system and what time it was on. We're probably there, but once it was on, I mean, I have to admit I didn't watch it at the time, but I watched it on at the Amazon, I think. I think it's available on every single platform that you could see it on.
Yeah, but I mean, you want to be in on that joke. You know, that's kind of what it is. You come in the office, and that's what everyone's talking about the next day.
It is odd, but that is true. Sharknado has captured the minds of America.
Yeah. Do you think that this kind of buzz will kind of propel other networks to do something similar to Sharknado?
Even these questions have such an air of they're so improbable. Anything that's a success gets done again.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yes. Do I think that NBC is going to make a low budget? Well, NBC did make this because it's SciFi's NBC. But do I think that HBO is going to make a low budget sci-fi film? No, they're going to make expensive movies. Or things that at least look expensive. You need a certain venue. They had already kind of established that they were in the business of caring about those things. I could see, like, Robert Rodriguez has a network called El Rey. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's very genre-based. It's sort of, he's kind of involved in that whole Quentin Tarantino grindcore world. So they do those sorts of things. They have a show based on Dusk Till Dawn and a new show called Matador that's a spy series, and the guy is a soccer player. And it's knowing about those tropes, and it jokes around with them, and it's funny, but it looks nice on the screen. Whether they're going to do a really bad version of that, I think, is probably unlikely. And I think SciFi owns Sharknado for what that's worth.
So, but before this, I mean, SciFi.
Octopusicane.
That's what I was going to say. Sharktopus, one of probably, honestly, my favorite sci-fi movie. I love Sharknado, but Sharktopus has a special place in my heart. Why do you think, though, that Sharknado, they had all these piranha movies, and there was one with an alligator mixed with something else. I forgot what it was. But why do you think that Sharknado somehow became a hit?
Because nothing in Sharknado is...
But don't think Sharktopus is possible.
It's not possible, but we know that animals do, combine into new animals, or breed. We know that there's a certain thing as crossbreeding, so we have a kind of base on that. The idea that sharks can live in a tornado, even if it's full of water, is, it's not so likely.
Or to travel across the country.
Right, and then, jump around in the air chasing people. It's it's not really what sharks do, or that you could chainsaw your way through a shark, and that a woman that had, been in there earlier was still alive inside the shark, and things like that. I'm sorry about spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the level of improbability, just from the top up. In the first one, everything's so cheap that it's just like, really, it is a lot of sharks in water. It floods and people get worried about the sharks. Here they're more like the sharks. They're worried about the sharks from the air. Yeah. And that's,
Well, what's funny? People were actually also last night, I thought it was pretty interesting, complaining about the continuity of this film, because her hand gets taken off here, and then when, spoiler alert, pulls it out at the end, it was taken off here.
We have to consider that maybe that was somebody else's arm with a similar ring on it.
Same ring, same gun.
It's a coincidence, but that one is possibly more possible, that somebody's arm
That's true.
growing back inside a shark.
Okay, well, let's get into everyone's
I'm glad that people are paying that close attention to it, though. It shows that people have not fallen asleep in this country, and they're not letting things get by them.
They are diligent about their Sharknadoes.
So
I mean, Al Roker, though, seemed to have some pretty serious science behind his weather reports.
Yeah, he did.
Although Matt Lauer was pretty skeptical about the whole thing. So speaking of Matt Lauer, Al Roker, let's talk about all the amazing cameos. Last night we were going through on LA Times Entertainment and breaking down every cameo as we saw them. People were adding. Some of them. Oh yeah, people were really mad at us for missing Downtown Julie Brown. She was a big one last night with the nurse.
Right, she was the one that I sort of couldn't. I said, I know who that woman is.
Yeah.
I know she's famous.
You got to be an MTV fan in 1994 to know who she is.
Yeah.
So.
But now that you say it, yes.
Yeah.
Downtown Julie Brown.
So what?
Out of context with Billy Ray Cyrus, though, it was a little, you'd be forgiven for not getting that.
Well, they're actually perfect for each other because they're right in the same time frame of fame.
Well, that's true.
So, why did all these celebrities want to be a part of this?
you know, it's something you can tell your friends at parties. I'm going to be in Sharknado too, and that probably sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's no harm really in being a part of something that's this silly.
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing a cameo in Saw 2 or 3 or whatever they're up to now in Saw.
It's like 18.
It's pretty harmless. As for the Today Show guys, you know, NBC, Universal owns Syfy. I'm sure that they got a note about we're going to use today, and you can be on it, or we'll get some replacement hosts. So they wanted to be part of that brand. I thought they were actually some of the better stuff in it.
I know they had more screen time than Tara Reid.
Again, NBC. Yes, they did have more screen time than Tara Reid. It's kind of interesting.
Yep. I think more people want to watch them. So okay, so we had Billy Ray, Downtown Julie Brown, Peppa, no Salt, just Peppa. Who else do we have there?
Maybe Salt felt she was above it.
She was above Sharknado. She'll probably be back for Sharknado 3, although Peppa's gone now. Yeah. She was actually decapitated.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Kelly and Michael.
Yes, who were very funny.
Yes.
Judd Hirsch, obviously.
Judd Hirsch. That was what we were talking about. A lot of people didn't get that Taxi reference, though.
Right. Well, so they're just too young. But also, that wasn't even a cameo. That was an actual role.
Yeah. I know, that's kind of the tough part. Like
also
Mark
with Judah
McGrath
Friedlander, too, from 30 Rock. He had a part in it.
Yeah.
And
Biz Marquis, he was another popular one. Jared the Subway Guy, Perez Hilton. I mean, it was stacked. It was stacked with B-list celebrities.
Mostly B.
Yeah.
Judd Hirsch, though, you know, he's A-list.
Yes.
And he was good. He was, but you know, it's the kind of thing you say, oh, I did it for my grandkids, you know, because they love Sharknado. Maybe, you know, so.
All right, well, do you think that there is a possibility for a Sharknado 3?
I think there's an inevitability for a Sharknado 3.
And where do you think this weather system is headed next?
Well, you know, by the science that's of the series itself, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's wherever they get the best tax break for filming would be where they're headed next.
Yeah. Although I didn't like how many jabs there were at LA last night. There's so, you know, when Finn is going up into the tornado.
You watched this really closely.
I did.
I'm very impressed.
I did. I take Sharknado very seriously. So he's going up into the tornado, and they're like, you know, he was talking about how LA didn't give him any support, and how, you know, and they're like, but you're a New Yorker.
But he's a bitter guy. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
He was grumpy the whole time.
That's very true.
It wasn't really till the end that he you know, found himself again.
Yes. Okay.
With
So
Tara Reid.
You predict Miami or Louisiana?
Well, Miami is maybe not. Maybe it's more expensive to shoot there. Louisiana, I would say, would be on a financial basis.
New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans would be the kind of, maybe it's too obvious, but you know, their tax breaks are very good in Louisiana.
Like that. I was thinking it was going to be European Vacation. I was thinking
that would take money. If they did it it would all be green screen Paris and things like that.
Although that'd probably make it better.
It would be good.
Yes. Robert, thank you so much for joining us to talk everything Sharknado. I know that it probably was the highlight of your week.
So much more we could discuss about it, I'm sure, but
I know.
Who has the time?
Do you know what? Actually, if you guys want to discuss this further, make sure to tweet us at LA Times ENT or at LA Times. And Miami, I suggest picking yourself up an umbrella and how to survive a Sharknado, because we think you're going to need it.
Yep. Sorry to say.
Thanks, guys.